it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this pretty circle of hearts pin. This is a really fast and easy project, and I've just made a circle using some 1 round crocheted hearts. It uses small amounts of yarn, and I've topped it with some buttons that I've layered up for kind of a textured effect. And the pin is just very simply glued to the back, and this makes a lovely gift, or you can wear it on your own coat to celebrate Valentine's Day as well. So let's get started. The finished pin measures about 3 inches across. Now there might be slight variations in your own pin because of the positioning for gluing and your tension when you're making the hearts, but it's about 3 inches across. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a 5mm H crochet hook, a tapestry needle, a scrap piece of felt or fabric, just something you have on hand, and a pin backing. This is called a bar pin backing. You can find these in the jewelry section of your craft store. They're usually sold in multi-packs and they're pretty inexpensive. You'll also need some buttons. Now I just grabbed a few. And you'll also need a hot glue gun and your yarn. The yarn I'll be using is Red Heart Super Saver in Shocking Pink. And you can really use any worsted weight yarn you like. The first thing we're going to do is make the hearts. So you'll need 5 of these little 1 round hearts for your pin. And I just made 4 already, and we're going to make the 5th one together. So this is a really simple 1 round heart, and it uses a tiny amount of yarn. So the first thing you'll want to do is put a slip knot on your hook. So to make a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. Next, you're going to chain 4. We're going to be creating the ring that we'll be working all of our stitches into. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then in the chain farthest from our hook, we're going to insert the hook and join with a slip stitch to create the ring. So insert the hook into the chain farthest from the hook, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. And then what you'll want to do is kind of open the ring a little bit, because we're going to be working lots of stitches into the center. And then this tail here, we'll hold this along the edge as we work, and that will weave it in as we go along. And we'll be tightening it up to kind of close the center hole a little bit better. So the first thing we want to do is work a double crochet into the center of the ring. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Next, we're going to make a treble crochet. So wrap the yarn around the hook twice, insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop, 4 loops are on the hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Any of these stitches, if you're unfamiliar with, I have a separate video for each one of these stitches. If you go to the Flux blog and look at the written pattern, you can see links to all of these separate stitch tutorials as well. This is a great way, though, to practice these. Next, we're going to make another double crochet into the center of the ring. And then we're going to work a slip stitch into the center of the ring. So insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And then we'll work another double crochet, still holding this tail along the edge as we work. Work another treble crochet. Again, wrap that yarn twice around the hook to begin that stitch. And also, I just wanted to point out, I'm going to work that again because my yarn split. If you need to push the stitches aside on the ring as you work because you're making so many stitches into the center, definitely feel free to do that to give yourself some more space. So what I mean by that is just take the stitches and just push them over a little bit if you need to. Work another double crochet after your treble. Push them over if needed. Now, our top part of our heart is complete. Now we're going to work the sides and the bottom, okay? So next, we're going to work 3 single crochets into the center of the ring. So insert the hook, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the 2 loops. So that's 1, 2 single crochets, and 3 single crochets. Next, we're going to make that bottommost point of our heart, this part here. We're actually upside down this time. Okay, see our heart's upside down. Okay, so work a treble crochet to create that bottom point. Just like that, pushing over if needed. Then to finish your heart, work 3 more single crochets to come back up the side of the heart. So 1, 2, and 3. Sliding things over if needed. Now, in that first stitch that you worked, you'll see there's 2 loops here. Just insert your hook into those 2 loops of that stitch, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to close the round. So bring up a loop and bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and our heart is complete. So grab your scissors and just cut the yarn and fasten off. And then we need to, this is such a tiny little heart with a lot of stitches going on, so we need to really straighten it out a bit. So this tail that we wove in as we went along, go ahead and pull that really, really tight and trim. And then just kind of straighten things out. Get that little divot in the center more pronounced. Kind of straighten these top pieces. And then at the bottom, you can sort of give your heart a pinch to kind of shape up the bottom. Then this tail here, we're going to weave it in. We're not going to use the tails for any sewing. No sewing involved in this project. Okay, so just weave that end in. Notice I flipped my heart over to the back side. We're weaving in on the back side of our heart. We want everything to be camouflaged. Okay, so our heart is totally complete. Now you'll repeat this 4 more times for a total of 5 hearts. So let's put our pin together next. Okay, so now we're ready to assemble our heart, and first we need to prep the surface that we'll be assembling the pin onto. So I just have a little scrap piece of felt. Now, ideally you'll want a color that's similar. It's not going to show, but you don't want to do like bright blue, for example, just in case a little bit of it shows. But you want it to sort of blend. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same exact pink color, but just something fairly similar. So what we're going to do is just kind of knock these corners off with our scissors. Just going to get a nice circular shape. Now make sure, before you start gluing things down, what I like to do is lay everything out first, just to make sure that everything is going to look the way I want it to. So it kind of fits sort of like a heart pizza. We're going to just snug those in a little bit. And see this hole in the center? That will be covered by our button, so we don't have to worry about that right now. I'm going to take my circle in just a little bit more, because I feel like it's a tiny bit big. And it's always, when you're gluing things, it's always helpful to lay everything out first. Okay, I like that much better. Okay, so everything's laid out, and I just want to give you guys an idea. Let me get that, it's like a little jagged edge. I just want to give you guys an idea of the size of the circle. Our circle is measuring about 2 inches wide, just so you know. Okay, so what we're going to do is start gluing our hearts down. Now before we do that, if you want to just one last time just sort of shape them up a little bit, and then what you're going to do on the bottom part, this pointy part, just put a little bit of glue. You don't want to overdo it because it'll ooze out the front, and that would not be good. Okay, so just glue your first heart down. We're just going to go all the way around, gluing our hearts down. Now, I guess you could sew this, but hot gluing yarn to fabric and things like that is just, it has such a nice strong bond that, and it's so fast, it's like instant adhesion, so I really like to use my glue gun whenever possible. Okay, and I'm sort of pressing down, and that's kind of neatening everything up and not necessarily flattening it out, but it's just kind of aligning everything nicely. Okay, and I'm just going to do that last heart, just kind of fit it right in there like a pie. Okay, so the very beginning of our pin is what it will look like, just a circle of hearts like the name. And then what you want to do is kind of let it cool and set up a little bit. You don't want to really fiddle with it while the glue is soft. You're just going to let it sit for a moment. Okay, now we're ready to do our buttons and our pins. Now I grabbed a handful of buttons. You can really do any buttons you like. Just make sure your button is large enough to fill in this hole that's created in the center there. Now this one is really cute. You can do, if you're giving this as a Valentine, you could do your Valentine's initial in the center, kind of like a monogram pin. But I'm going to do a couple of buttons. I'm going to layer my buttons because I love the way layered buttons look. And I'm just going to glue them right on. Again, if you prefer to sew, by all means, feel free to do that. So let's lay our first button down. This is like a decorative, it's actually plastic, but it looks wood. And I just really love the details on it. It's a little flower, so it kind of mimics this shape that we've created with our hearts. And then I picked this teal one because I love hot pink and teal. They just look so pretty together. And we can just glue that right on top. Make sure the glue is not too sort of blobby because you don't want the glue to ooze out the sides. Okay, and finally I'm going to top it all off with the little tiny button that you see here, and it's the same color as, now see how I'm kind of doing this up and down motion? That really reduces the amount of strings that happen. But anyway, I picked this hot pink button just to kind of tie it all in with the color of the yarn. Okay, so we have a nice, pretty layered effect. Now you don't necessarily have to do this. One button will more than do. Okay, so last but not least, we need to glue our pin backing. Now, if you can't find these anywhere, you could use the safety pin. That would be fine. You just kind of run it into the fabric and pin it on that way. But we're going to use this. So a little tip when you're making pins is, let's flip this over. If you glue your pin backing to the very center, what's going to happen when you wear it is it's going to become top heavy and kind of flop forward. If you've ever seen someone or worn a pin yourself that's very heavy on top and it just kind of flops forward, we definitely don't want that. So when you make your pin, look for the side that you like best and flip it over. And then what you're going to do is glue it towards the top. So it kind of hangs like a picture frame almost on the wall, you know, so nothing leans forward and it'll stay nice and neat. Okay, so we're going to put it up here. So what I'm going to do is put a little glue. Now when you're using hot glue, just be really, really careful that you don't get it on your hands because this stuff is molten lava hot. Okay, so just go ahead and stick it right on there. And the holes, see how this metal has holes in it? The holes will let the glue ooze through on purpose and it creates a nice bond. So just let that cool and dry completely and then your pin will be ready to wear. And of course let the front dry as well. So our pin has completely cooled and dried and now it's ready to wear. So you can use this on your own coat or jacket, or you can make this a really pretty and thoughtful little Valentine. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.